Hello, I'm Jill Bauer, and I'm a candidate for 68th District Court, which is in the city of Flint. And I'd like to introduce myself to you first. I graduated from Flint Southwestern, so I did attend Flint schools. I currently live in Flint with my family, which includes my husband of 22 years and my 3 children. My law office has always been located in downtown Flint, and I taught at three uh, colleges in Flint before I became a lawyer. I taught at U of M Flint, Mott Community College, and Baker College. So I'm very much connected to the city and have lived the majority of my adult life within the city limits. The league has invited me to come here today and answer some questions, so I'm going to go ahead and answer the questions and make sure I get that handled. The first question is, what attributes do I possess that would make me the best choice for this position? The first thing that I think makes me stand out is because I was a teacher for 14 years, I have good communication skills, and because I've worked with different types of students, I know how to tell when people don't understand when information is being given to them, they don't understand what's being said. I know how to change the wording around, make sure that people understand it. And I think that's really important in a court system where it's really easy for insiders like attorneys and judges to roll into this high-level legal language where we know what we're talking about, but if you haven't been to law school, you might kind of feel like you're in a fog. So I know how to handle that situation. And that's important in district court because a lot of people end up representing themselves in district court, so they really can feel disconnected and feel like it's not a fair process if they don't understand. I'm also very respectful and fair. I feel that when people come to court, they want to feel like they've been heard, they want a decision to be made. I can take care of business, I can make a decision, and I can give people their day in court. I might not make everyone who comes into my courtroom happy, but at least they'll feel like they had their day in court and they'll feel like the process went the way that it should and that their rights to legal process were honored. I'm also very much on time and efficient. I'm always on time for court. If I'm running late, I let people know. So I'm a solo practitioner right now. I know how frustrating it is if you're a working person to be down in court sitting and waiting and waiting and waiting for your case to be called. So I will be there on time. I'll take the bench at a reasonable time, and I'll make sure that things keep moving because doing my job will be my top priority. And finally, I understand that when people come to court, they're dealing with things that are usually very stressful, things that are very important to them and that really impact their lives. And I will treat them with dignity and try not to add to that stress by mistreating people in my courtroom. Now, the second question is, what changes, if any, do I feel are appropriate to better serve my jurisdiction, which are the people of Flint, and do I plan to implement them if I'm elected? Well, a couple changes that I have is there are a lot of programs in the state that I've heard about where landlord-tenant matters are being handled much more successfully. And what I will pledge to do is between the time that I'm elected and the time I take the bench, I'm going to go visit those counties and find out what they're doing and what works, and I'll come bring some new ideas back to Flint and try to revamp the way that the landlord-tenant cases are handled so that we can, have best practices happening in Flint as well as other places in the state. I'm also going to stagger the scheduling of cases so that we don't have people showing up at the same time and then some of them waiting for a very long time before their cases are actually heard. So I'll let people come in, every hour so that the amount of time that they have to wait in court is limited. And then I have an idea that I'd like to start. It's called Literacy Court. And what Literacy Court would do is take nonviolent offenders who qualify for probation, so these are people that are going to be on probation anyway, and put them through a very rigorous process where we would help fix their reading and math issues, help them get a GED, and help them all the way into college or trade school, with the possibility that if they worked hard and stuck with the program, they could have their charges dismissed, much like mental health court and drug court and veterans court. But this court would be focused on education. I feel like education is a permanent fix. There's no relapse on education. And if we can get people into college or into trade school, the chance that they will reoffend is much lower. And the other benefit of specialty courts such as literacy court is that we save on incarcerating people. It's very expensive to put people in jail. I know there's a tendency to want to teach people a lesson and make them spend some time in jail, but we all pay for that. And for nonviolent offenders, it might make more sense to just get them into something more productive. And once they're in college, we don't send a lot of college graduates to prison, so I believe that the repeat offenders will be reduced. And the third question is, how can the cost of judicial administration be reduced? And I need to give you a specific example of how I would reduce the costs in my courtroom. One thing that I would be in great support of is transitioning 68th District Court to electronic filing. Now, when electronic filing is implemented, not everybody has to use it. You could still come down to the court and file stuff by hand if you wanted to. But it would just give that option to attorneys, people who have computers at home. Some people might have better access to a computer than a car to drive downtown. They would have the option to do it by computer, and it would reduce the traffic at the 68th District Court clerk's counter and allow the clerks to handle people showing up, the public showing up at the counter more efficiently. People wouldn't have to wait in line as long. Another thing that I would be willing to do is some counties allow district court judges to take circuit court pleas. And the reason that this saves money is it reduces the number of times that someone has to show up in court. We can get an arraignment and a plea done at the district court level when the plea agreement is being put on the record, and there's just a lot less time taken up, and it would free up the circuit court judges to do other things. Now, this might not create a huge savings in 68th District Court in and of itself, but throughout the county system, it would create savings. And since we might have a united county court soon, it makes sense to move in that direction. And then, of course, one thing that I would do is use diversion programs in specialty courts, such as I mentioned earlier, drug court, mental health court, veterans court, and the literacy court, as much as possible, because those courts, the focus of them is to solve problems, and they can solve problems at a lower cost than incarceration. So I would try to utilize those programs, because I feel like our ultimate goal needs to be to get people out of lifestyles that cause them to make bad decisions and into lifestyles that cause them to go to work, pay their bills, pay their taxes, and improve the community. The last question is, what do I perceive as the greatest obstacle to justice? And I guess these things are kind of tied together, but right now I think access to quality legal representation is the greatest barrier to people receiving justice in the system. Because of the economy, a lot of people are handling very complex things that are very important to their lives on their own, or they can't afford to have the case handled to the extent that they would like to have it handled. So, in this time of economic downturn, the ability to pay for quality legal assistance has been reduced, and that has led to a lot of people feeling like their rights may not have been honored as much as they could have been in the system, whether we're talking a civil case or a criminal case. And then the other thing is that the system, because of financial constraints, is set up to encourage pleas rather than trials. So sometimes people are faced with very difficult decisions about things that may impact the rest of their lives. In closing, I appreciate this opportunity. If you elect me 68th District Court Judge for the City of Flint, I will work hard. I will get in there and use my creative problem-solving skills to come up with ways to improve areas that I'm not even aware of because I'm not on the bench. And I will just take very good care of this community when I see you in court.